Hey, what's up, Boneyard family? Do you remember game night? Remember how much fun that was? You stay up late with your friends, your family, play some late night poker, some things like that. Maybe you can't do that anymore. Maybe because you guys are somewhat separated. Maybe your college friends or your military buddies or perhaps the ladies from girls' night have moved out of state. How about reconnecting with our friends from Poker Chill? You download the Poker Chill app. It's very easy to do. It's got built-in video chat, so it's not just some virtual game. You're able to kind of communicate and see your friends. So when you take the pot, you can see the shock on their face. You can host private poker games, no Zoom or computer necessary. You can video chat right on your phone or tablet. A perfect way to hang out remotely with your friends or family. It's as fun and real as live poker, but it's from your phone, so you can do it from the convenience of your own home. Easy, just 3 taps to set this whole thing up. Perfect for both beginners and advanced players. Download now for iPhone and iPad. Get started by downloading the Poker Chill app, and here's the deal. We're going to help you get 5 hours free, completely free, by using promo code Boneyard when you download the Poker Chill app. Check it out today. Bulldog fans, excited to introduce you to our new friends at Vincero. Very excited about this, too. I mean, this is a company that does a great job pumping out the Vincero Collective. Very, very excited about this. You should be too. If you don't know who Vincero is just yet, they're a premium lifestyle brand out of San Diego, right here in the United States of America, carrying watches, sunglasses, and much, much more. Perfect for men and women of any style, any age. Creating exceptionally crafted and ethically made products. That's important in today's time, too. Modern pieces that elevate your look and stand the test of time. And how many times do you go out and you buy something and it's like, I really like these, and the next thing you know, you buy these glasses, and the next thing you know, they're getting kind of wobbly and everything else, and you feel like you've got some old sunglasses and they're just not lasting. That's not the case with Vincero. They're adamant about the process. Design everything in-house. They source their own materials. They produce in small batches and ship right to your home. They do with the planet in mind. Vincero has been carbon neutral since 2019. Investing in renewable energy and forestry. Modern ethical branding with the goal of providing premium lifestyle accessories for the stylish me and you. How about that? Stainless steel, durable silicone, and Italian marble straps. Surgical grade stainless steel casing with Italian marble inlay. It's incredible. Go check them out yourself today. Vincero is offering a special 15% off for Boneyard listeners and free shipping to all of our listeners by using the promo code Boneyard. That's VinceroCollective.com. That's Vincero Collective.com. It's Vincero. That's how you pronounce it, Vincero. But it's spelled Vincero Collective.com/Boneyard. Very, very easy to find. And again, you get that 15% off and free shipping just by being a Boneyard listener. Be sure and check them out today. Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson. Here on the Monday edition of The Yard, it's not a real jovial place around here at the Robertson house. We have dropped 3 games to LSU. And, ordinarily we break down the weekend and we go in depth and we talk about what happened. I don't think you guys want to hear that today. And I know that I really don't want to talk about it today. I'll be honest with you, losing to LSU to me is worse than losing to Ole Miss because I grew up in the 80s, when they were our rival school. And here's the thing, even in our better years, they have found a way to kind of remind us we're not at their level. And it's bad. It is. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. We have not won a series against the LSU Tigers in our home venue since 2003. We won last year, and of course we won the national championship. And that's really, to be honest with you, last year, when we went down to Baton Rouge, and we should have swept. We should have. We take 2 of 3. And that's when we kind of feel like, hey, we've kind of got our hands around some lightning here. Because LSU, like it or not, is the measuring stick for Mississippi State baseball. Wasn't always that way. It wasn't. And as I wrote in Dogpile, that, before Skip Bertman got there, LSU was and also ran in the Southeastern Conference. They had done nothing. And then they come along in the 80s. Of course, we were really strong in the late 70s and the early 80s and mid-80s and late 80s. And then they kind of wrestled control of the Southeastern Conference away from us. So they became what we thought we should be. And I'm still bitter about it, to be honest with you. And hey, congratulations to Skip and all those guys down there. You won it. You and I both know that if there was rigorous testing back then, you may not have. But the reality of it is they have those national championships, and I suffer for a little bit of sour grapes when it comes to the Tigers. I just be honest with you. I do. I'm very envious of what they have. Now, we have been better in recent years when you look at the totality of a schedule and you look at what State has done in recent years. But when, a good LSU team, not a great team, not an elite team, comes in here and sweeps us, it's tough to swallow. It is. They don't have elite pitching. This is not an LSU roster that we have seen, historically. There's no Jared Poche. There's no Austin Nola. They don't have that guy. And we did a pretty good job against their starters. I thought Makai did a good job, on Friday. But we did a good job against their starters. Their bullpen was better than ours. And that proved to be the difference in a couple ball games. The Sunday game, it kind of is what it is. Kind of got away from us. But I don't really care to relive all that stuff. So I'm going to break in format today. We're not going to go back and recap those 3 games. We're not going to do it. And maybe it's because I'm bitter. Maybe it's because I'm disappointed. Maybe it's because I'm a little jealous. But all the same, I think it's better. Let's take an inventory kind of where we are. I'm frustrated like all of you. I am. It doesn't change my loyalty in any stretch of the imagination. I know some people are like, I'm just ready to give up. Then give up. But give up completely. Don't give up and then snipe people on social media. Don't give up and then go litter the message boards with all your negative talk. If you're going to give up, give up. Give up completely. It's time to give up on the season. Well, you're welcome to do that. I'm not going to. I still believe that we can scratch and claw and find our way to Hoover and then make a regional somewhere. We're not hosting. We've talked about that for weeks. That's over. The best we can hope for, in my personal opinion right now, unless we catch lightning in the bottle down the stretch, is to win enough games to get to Hoover. Maybe we won't win 12, 13 SEC games. Maybe win a game or 2 in the tournament and find a regional somewhere. Get there as a 2 or as a 3, and it really doesn't matter if you get there as a 2 or as a 3. It's all just get us there. I think that's probably maybe our most realistic and perhaps most optimistic situation right now, is that we make a regional. And then you just kind of see what happens from there, because you never know. I believe we're going to be playing our best baseball at the end of the year. I just hope that it's not too little too late. But like all of you, I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed. But I'm not giving up on the season. I'm not giving up on the team. I'm not giving up on players. I'm not giving up on coaches. I'm not giving up on philosophy. I'm not giving up on our stadium or our tradition or anything like that. True Maroon. Many of you are too. And even though at times, at moments of weakness and emotion, sometimes we say and do things maybe we regret. And we're going to talk about some of that later in the show. But we're not going to break down. We're going to talk about where we are, kind of what we've learned here in recent days, what needs to happen, what we need to do, my opinion, and what I think we need to do. And then we're going to look at some recruiting stuff, and then we're going to look at some other stuff as it relates to baseball later in the show. I don't know. We may not go as long today. I'm going to say what I need to say, and then we'll kind of move forward. But I've had many people said, "Hey, Steve, looking forward to the Boneyard to hear what you got to say." The reality of it is what can you say? We just got swept in a home series by a team that, we're equally as talented as those guys. And I know it's easy to say, well, Steve, they beat us, they're more talented than us, but they're not. And I know that's still a matter of opinion. The reality of it is we should have won on Friday. We should have won on Saturday. We shouldn't have won on Sunday. We got our brains beat in Sunday. But you should have won the game Friday. It's a 2-1 game. You got bases loaded, nobody out, and you get nothing. You get nothing out of it. And then you go into a 1-run game in the 9th inning with a guy that's an inexperienced closer, and I'm not going to sit here and slander Jackson Fristow. The guy's doing the best he possibly can.
we're trying to figure this thing out. And sometimes that's, sometimes we lose sight of that. It's like everybody else is kind of having to adjust and, to some of the injuries that we've had. Some of them have been season-ending. Others that have been just kind of a temporary inconvenience of sorts. But, Jackson Fristow didn't come here to be a closer. He's trying to do his best to fill that role. And he's one pitch away from closing out an SEC victory on a Friday night, which would have been huge and in many ways, I think, changed the complexion of the weekend. And we blew it. But it doesn't boil down. You say, well, Steve, we've got to make one more pitch. I go back to all those opportunities. We had those guys in scoring position, and we couldn't get them in. It's a team game. Well, we didn't score enough runs. We didn't prevent enough runs. It all works hand in hand. It's not Jackson Fristow's, burden to carry alone. Does he bear some responsibility? Absolutely he does, and he'll tell you the same. Had a chance to talk to his dad a little bit after the ball game. Offer a few words of encouragement. Saturday, similar situation. We get down, 3-0. We battle back. We give up a solo home run late, and again, we have opportunities late in the ball game, and we can't get the big base hit. Now, I know it's obvious to all of you. Tanner Allen is not in the dugout anymore. He's not. So you don't have the Tanner Allen moments anymore. And you got some guys that saw him do that, and there have been a lot of difficulty this year kind of stepping into those roles. And here's the thing, too, that I will say. R.J. Yeager might be our best player. And we got him out of the portal. And there's two things I'll say about that. Number one, we got to hit the portal hard next year. We do. We got to get old because we're going to lose a lot this year. And the draft is going to be interesting. I think there are some guys that are maybe struggling a little bit with draftitis and may not go as high as they expect because of how they're playing. But I also think, too, it's like, we have recruited really well. We have developed some players. And I know that we're kind of at the end of a talent cycle, but goodness, we got 6 starters back off a team that won the national championship. And so you can't just hang it on development because those guys have performed at a high level before. But it's like, hey, why is an outsider our best player? Shouldn't we have guys that have been in the system 2 and 3 years? Shouldn't they be our best players? And maybe by year end they will be. But at this point, to be honest with you, there are not a lot of times that I look at the lineup and I say, okay, we're definitely going to score this half inning. I just don't have that level of confidence. I know many of you feel the same way. When RJ comes up, I think something's going to happen. I think moving him to leadoff was probably really very important for us. He's back in the leadoff role, which is where he started the year and really struggled. We drop him down the order all the way down to 8th, and now all of a sudden he's rolling. We put him back in first, and he was the best hitter and best player of the weekend, for sure. No doubt about it. Luke Hancock's coming around. But to be honest with you, unless those two guys are at the plate, I don't have a lot of confidence that we get the run home. And they're certainly not, setting the world on fire when it's coming to driving in runs. But the reality of it is there sometimes I'm rooting for the other team to fail. I'm rooting for a wild pitch. I'm rooting for an error. Last year I always thought, oh yeah, we're going to hit these guys. We're going to hit these guys. Not quite there yet. Speaking of hits, Bulldog Burger Company, always a hit. They always come through with runners in scoring position. Go by and check them out today. You'll be glad you did. Great portions at a great price with great service and great locations. What else can you ask for? A lot of people out there cutting back on their portions, and in some cases even raising their prices. So you're paying more for less. Not the case at Bulldog Burger Company. Still getting those very generous portions. It's one of the best things about it. You get great food, and you get a lot of it. Go check them out today on University Drive here in Star Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, and, of course, Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowood area. Go by and check them out. You'll be glad you did. Get the spring rolls as your appetizer. They'll make you and everybody around you better looking. And maybe get that chocolate shake to go. I like to sit and dine on that Shipley's bread pudding when I can, though. I'm kind of a bread pudding connoisseur. I like theirs. It's not really a true bread pudding, I guess you would say, with the Shipley's donuts in there, but it is fabulous. So let's not stick to the letter of the law too much there. Be sure to enjoy that. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. M-E-A-T. Okay. So here is the Mississippi State baseball program the way that I see it. And that's one thing. Listen, and I love Chris Lemonis to death. I think Chris is fabulous. One of the things that I hear sometimes from Chris that I know he is, paying respect to the opponents. He goes, hey, we saw a really good arm tonight. And that's true. And again, I'm not being critical of Chris, but here is where maybe my perception of things is different. And, he sees these guys every day. I don't, right? So he's got some insider trading that I don't have. But, I remember, times kind of growing up and watching the Bulldogs play, I didn't care who you put out there. We're Mississippi State. We're going to have hitters. We're the kind of guys that drive up your Friday night starter's ERA. We're the kind of guys that have you scrambling to get the bullpen going in the third and fourth inning on a Friday night. We're going to wreck your weekend in day one because we're going to force you to burn through some arms on Friday and Saturday, and by the time you get into Sunday, it's a church league softball game because you got nobody left. That's the perception of Mississippi State that I've always had. When we are playing well, when we are basically a lineup of trained assassins, we don't care who you throw. And that's one of the things that I guess Chris and I will disagree upon. And listen, I know he's being respectful. I'm not in any way throwing shade at Chris. No way whatsoever. But at Mississippi State, we expect to hit your Friday night guy. We haven't been hitting the Friday night guy this year. And it really doesn't matter who it is. And listen, Jonathan Cannon from Georgia is outstanding. He is. That's the guy you're going to have to beat 3-2, 2-1. You're not going to get a lot of run support for your pitchers. Your pitcher's got to be on his game to beat a guy like that. But you trot out these guys from LSU and Alabama. We ought to be able to rock those guys around the yard. Now, listen, we don't have, the clutch gene just yet. That's what's amazing to me. It's like, when it's your turn, it's your turn. And you have come up in this program, if you're Logan Tanner, you're Cameron James, and you're Luke Hancock, you have come up as support players initially, your first-year starters in 2020. In the 2021, you're part of a great nucleus of players that won the program's first ever national championship. So you have seen what it's like to see guys come through in big moments. And you yourselves have come through in big moments. But you don't have TA and Rowdy out there to pick you up anymore. So when that TA spot comes up in the ninth inning, you got to do it. It's not about getting comfortable anymore. You got to do it. And one of the things that I read from time to time, and again, I'm not being critical of players or anything like that. I'm just going to share, I'm speaking from my heart today and sharing what I see and feel. One of the things, listen, I see so many people say, they're doing their best. And you know what? Maybe that's true. Maybe it is. But what do we do when the requirement exceeds your best? One of the best guys I ever worked for one time, he used that same verbiage on me. He goes, I don't want you to do your best. I want you to do what's required. And what's required here is we got to get in the cage. We got to work through some mechanical things. We got to stop rolling over ground balls to the right side. And I understand there's guys up here that have big league sliders, so they get under barrels and things like that. But we got to figure it out. And those are the things that I guess that kind of pained me a little bit. It's like, beginning of this year, did I think we had an Omaha team? Yeah, I did. Had to recalibrate my expectations when we lost Landon Sims because we all knew that the pitching staff wasn't going to have the depth it had a year ago. Then you lose Stone Simmons the same weekend. And so now, we're having to kind of piecemeal this thing together. And listen, everybody's had injuries. Nobody's feeling sorry for Mississippi State. Arkansas lost their best guy, and look at them, even though they lost the weekend series. Arkansas is still playing really well. Florida lost most of their rotation. Nobody's feeling sorry for them. Tennessee lost a couple of their guys on the weekend. And they're the number one team in the country. Now, did I expect Mississippi State to repeat this year? No, I didn't. Did I think we had a chance? Yeah, we had a chance because you get to Omaha and you never know how things are going to break down. And then you start thinking, okay, well, okay, we're not going to be a top 8 national seed, but maybe we can still host. And now we're at a point now where we're even wondering if we can make Hoover and make a regional somewhere. Okay, so we're not going to be a top 8. We're not going to host. You're probably not going to be a number 2. Right now, this season has number 3 on the West Coast wrapped up all over it, if we're lucky. And listen, we're not as bad as we played this weekend. We're not. And to be honest with you, I thought we had a little give up in us on Sunday, which is disappointing. But here's the thing. And it's bigger than a team, and it's bigger than a player, and it's bigger than a family. It's bigger than a ticket. It's bigger than a left field lounge, rig or whatever you want to call them out there today. It's bigger than all of that. Because all of that works together to comprise one of the richest traditions in college baseball history. And so when you put that M/S cap on out there, there is an expectation of greatness, not of mediocrity, not of your best. You have to rise to the moment. You have to be worthy of the uniform. That's the same M/S, that Yard Dog Milton wore, and Whoopstick, and Dave Ferries, and Phil Steele, and Will Clark, Rafael Palmeiro, Bobby Reed, Mitch Moreland. There is an expectation at Mississippi State for greatness, and we haven't always lived up to that. Some of that, was our own fault. There was a time, of course, in the later of the Polk years, where the recruiting process kind of left us. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? I mean, we had been the show in Mississippi for the better part of 20 years. And so every kid in Mississippi that really loved baseball, whether they were an Ole Miss fan or not, wanted to come to Mississippi State. They did. Given the opportunity, back in those days, there were some guys that came to Mississippi State because Mississippi State was a better baseball program. Then Mike Bianco and Dan McDonald, and I give Dan a lot of credit for it, because you can see Ole Miss is not what they once were. And a lot of it, what changed? Well, Dan McDonald left, and you see what he's made Louisville. But Dan McDonald came in here and really got after it and really took it to us from a recruiting standpoint. And we got lost in the recruiting wilderness for a little while. Because in the past, guys, they say, hey, they won't make a decision until they see if we offer. We got a little big for our britches. We did. That's the reality of it. I've shared with you guys on the show before. When John Cohen got here, we had 0 commitments for the upcoming class. 0. How does that happen? Well, you had some savvy recruiters on the other side of the rivalry. They're like, hey, Polk is leaving. You have no idea who they're going to get. Maybe they're going to promote Tommy Raffo. But you're going to come here and we're going to be this and we're going to be the dominant program in Mississippi. And you know what? For a window in time there, they kind of were. Then John Cohen gets here. And John Cohen modernizes our approach to recruiting. John Cohen kind of got after Larry Templeton a little bit to spend a little money. We had let the old girl Duty Noble Field kind of fall into disrepair in many respects. So we tried to dress things up a little bit. We improved our drainage system. We put some money in the stadium. We let things get a little antiquated because we got a little big for our britches. And Ole Miss flipped the script on us. They built a new stadium, and we're like, we like the charm of our own place. Yeah, kind of like those guys that still remember riding their horses down Highway 12 and how quaint and wonderful Starkville was back then. We're a more progressive community now. We're a growing community. We can't have, we can't preserve your horse trails at the expense of costing us a Cracker Barrel, which we did. And so I think about these things, and I think it's important to kind of understand, where we are and where we've come from. We had a very modern approach to recruiting, and people forget, how great that class was. It took us to Omaha in 13. Hunter Renfro, Adam Frazier, Kendall Graveman. That was an outstanding group of guys. Chris Stratton was a guy too. Chris Stratton grew up a Bulldog. Mississippi that wasn't recruited to Ole Miss the day John Cohen got here. We go get Chris Stratton. Chris still pitching in the big leagues right now. I remember Chris Stratton going down to LSU on a Sunday and absolutely carving them up. And then 2 years later, he goes out there and gets a standing ovation. We lose the game in 10 innings, but he gets a standing ovation from the LSU crowd for how dominant he was. And so, we have come a long way in a short time. But I say that to say this, is we have some players, today, of course, that have a legacy to last a lifetime. But we're not done writing it. It would be easy to say it, and I read the stuff, I do, I see and I hear it. A lot of times I don't respond to it. Like, oh, we got fat and we got comfortable. I just tell you, that's not my impression. I know that's easy to say, it's low-hanging fruit. That's just not my impression of things. I just think the reality of it is that, we had some role players that have just not found any level of comfort in being the leaders of this team. Landon Sims is the heart and soul of this team. Landon Sims isn't playing anymore. He's still in the dugout. He's still trying to pump guys up. He's still trying to go out there and help the pitchers. He's still very much involved. But you need your bell cow on the field. We don't have it. Preston Johnson, I think, had his best start of the year Friday. Deserved to win. We didn't get enough runs to make that happen. But Presto was outstanding. Parker Stinnett was not for the second straight week. Again, I know Parker Stinnett is doing his best. I get it. But Parker Stinnett can't remain on the weekends. He just can't. We can't do it. And Chris had to pull him in the second inning, or first inning this time. He gets to Arkansas when we get shelled in the second inning. We got so far behind, it became an embarrassment. So we make a move. We bring in Brandon Smith, who just on Tuesday told us I didn't come back to be the midweek pitcher. And I'll be honest with you. When he said that, I thought, that's going to raise a few eyebrows out here. I don't know how everybody's going to receive that. And maybe Brandon shouldn't have said it personally or publicly. But I admire it. It's like, hey, I didn't come back here. Listen, I didn't just come back here to pitch in the midweek. I came back out here to help his team on the weekend. And I thought he was really good Saturday. He gives up one run. We lose 4-3. But Brandon Smith went out there and showed that he's capable of getting the SEC hitters out on the weekend. I think you got to put him out there. I think he's got to be the Saturday guy this week. And now you may make a change next week. It's a short week this week. Obviously, we played Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Maybe the next week when you can get guys back on a regular schedule, maybe you do it a little differently. Maybe that's what you do. But I think you got to put Brandon Smith out there. So all of a sudden, if I begin to think, okay, it's taken us, basically 2 months into the season, but now due to some injuries and ineffectiveness, maybe this is our rotation. Preston on Friday. Do you slide Kate up to Saturday next week? Not this week, but next week? Is Brandon go to Sunday? But I think at this point we have identified the three guys that can likely help us the most as weekend starters. Now, of course, you lose Brandon, of course, as a reliever, but here's the deal. If he can get you a quality start and get you 6 or 7 innings deep in a ball game with a lead, you kind of narrow the gap a little bit, because the reason you bring him in a ball game in reliever on the weekends is because your other guy's ineffective. And so maybe Brandon can be that guy for us. We're still rotating with the center field thing, and I asked Chris about that on Sunday. And Lamana said, hey, I think this is pretty much where we're going to be. And I'll be honest with you, I think we've got some guys out there that struggle to make a contribution. And again, this is not me being negative. There was some COVID evaluations too. During the junior college signing period, we had to go out and we had basically had to trust the word of other people and video. We didn't get a chance to see guys in camp. We didn't get a chance to go work these guys out or even see them play a ball game. And so, yeah, you probably got some guys that were marginal guys that they're, again, doing the best they can, but maybe not able to live up to the requirement of what it means to be an everyday player at Mississippi State. And so we're going to have to kind of figure that thing out. Lane Forsythe has been really good lately. Tanner Leggett, of course, was primarily your starter. He was starting 2 of the 3 games this past weekend. Forsythe did. Now, again, I told you guys about a month ago I thought Forsythe's at bats were getting better. And then all of a sudden we've got a little something to show for it. And again, he's never going to be the home run guy. He is a punch and Judy guy all the way. And I've read, Steve, at least Leggett can run into one every once in a while. And that's true. It's true. And that's why maybe you need them both. But, let's look at these numbers real quick here, just real quickly, just because, we can take a small sample size that kind of fits our narrative and kind of make that a talking point. But, let's kind of look at the totality of things. between these two guys here. I mean, let's just look, because what happens sometimes is, we get lost in the big picture and don't always look at the little things. And so let's take a quick look here. Let's look and see what Lane Forsythe has done. He is currently hitting 224. Tanner Leggett's hitting 212. All right, neither one of them are setting the woods on fire. All right, so against Arkansas last weekend, Lane Forsythe was 2 for 5. He didn't get the hit against UT Martin. He goes 2 for 3 on Friday against LSU, then 0 for 3 on Saturday, and only had the one at bat on Sunday. But one of the things that I've always thought with him is we've got to cut down on strikeouts. Well, we had done a pretty good job of that until Saturday. He had one game with strikeouts dating back to Alabama, all the way back to the Alabama series. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One game out of 8 where he struck out. Putting the ball in play. I can work with a guy like that. Let's go back and look here at what we've seen recently from Tanner Leggett. Tanner, again, is a guy that can run into it. Had a couple of hits against UT Martin. You go back to the Arkansas weekend. We're 0 for 2, and we were hit by pitch and the only other at bat on Sunday. Didn't play on Saturday. 1 for 5 against Memphis, and then 2 for 3 against UT Martin, and then 0 for 2 against LSU. And so, there's not any separation one way or another. But I think when you begin to look at this, you got to start thinking, okay, what's best for the Bulldog future? And I know we have to win now, but I think that's something that has to enter into the equation, especially now. Who's getting me on base? Who's getting productive at bats and moving runners across? That's something we're still kind of thinking about. All right, let's take a quick look at the SEC standings here. As bad as they are, the good thing is they're subject to change. SEC East, Tennessee continues to run away with all this. Now 12-0 in the conference, 4 sweeps, 31-1 overall, 23-0 at home, 6-0 on the road. They lose one game on a neutral field. That's it. We hadn't seen anybody like this in a while. Go back to Oregon State a few years ago. That's probably the last one I remember that had this embarrassingly gaudy record. Georgia hanging in there too, 8-4, 24-8 overall. Vandy loses another series to Auburn. They're now 5-7. That's one of the things you start looking at in the East, because Tennessee is going to beat everybody up. But in the East, only 2 teams with a winning record in conference. That's probably a good thing for us. Vanderbilt now 22-9. Florida, big series win for them this weekend. They're still 5-7. They take 2 or 3 from Arkansas, 21-11. Kentucky 4-8 in the league and 19-13 overall. South Carolina 4-8. Again, the lone team in the SEC with a losing record at 15-16. Missouri 3-9, 18-11 overall. So we talk about getting to Hoover. We just need to be better than those 2 teams at a minimum. And I think we will be. I think the records will kind of bear that out. South Carolina is still a bit of an anomaly. We need those guys to win a game or 2 this weekend when they host Ole Miss. SEC West, Arkansas 8-4. Of course, they look to be kind of like the second best team, and maybe they are, but they lose that series to Florida after absolutely destroying them on Thursday. You thought they'd run right through it. I did. At least win the series, and they don't. And so good for Sully and those guys to kind of bounce back. They were 3-7, then they win the last 2. LSU now 7-5, 1 game out of first in the West. Again, I don't think this is an elite LSU team. But I do think there is some length in that lineup, and I thought McManus absolutely killed us. 23-9 for them overall. Auburn, they take 2 of 3 from Vanderbilt. They'll be your guest this weekend for Super Bulldog Weekend. 7-5 in the league and 22-10 overall. 5-2 on the road. They're not going to be scared to come in here and pitch. Alabama 7-5. They sweep the series against Ole Miss. 21-12. A&M now 6-6. 19-12. Ole Miss 4-8, 19-12, tied with Mississippi State, dead last in the SEC West. And again, people say, well, Alabama and Auburn, what a difference a weekend makes, right? And that's kind of where we are now. We need a good weekend this weekend. All of a sudden, we go out there and win this series against Auburn. We're right back in the thick of things in the middle of the SEC West. Not that I expect to win it by any stretch. We just got to go win some ball games. And one of the most frustrating things about all this, and I know I speak for all Mississippi State fans when I say this, is like I can't even enjoy Ole Miss's struggles because we're struggling too. It'd be just be disingenuous. I mean, it's like, yeah, am I happy they got swept? Yeah. It'd been more fun if we had won the series against LSU. Then we could talk a little trash. But we got bigger problems of our own. It's going to be an interesting series here in a couple weekends when we go up there. I think we can do it. I do. I think we can do it. And you say, well, Steve, how can you say that with any confidence? Ole Miss, like, we have better pitching than Ole Miss does. You can say, Steve, how is that possible? Have you watched Ole Miss play? I don't think you have. Now, we got to go out there and get some timely base hits, and we'll preview that series when it comes time to come. But the reality of it is we got work to do, man. 18-15, be back on the diamond Tuesday night against UAB. We got to figure some things out. There's no doubt about it. And last thing I'm going to say about this before I kind of move forward into the top 10 list. When I look at Cade Smith and Hunter Hines and Slade Alford and those guys, it gives me some hope for the future. And not necessarily next year. But one of the things that I identify with all three of those guys is they're tough. Yeah, there are some people out there that play tough. It's, well, that was a tough play, made a tough play. Or they showed a little toughness there. Okay, I don't want any of those players, ever, in any sport, but certainly baseball. I don't want a guy that shows a little toughness every now and then. No, I don't want that guy. Y'all can have him. He can go to Ole Miss and go to Southern Miss, wherever. I want guys that are tough all the time, because when you're tough, it's not something that comes and goes. Hunter Hines has really struggled as of late. He rolls the ball to the right side yesterday. What does he do? He runs down there as fast as he can. He's not a speed merchant by any stretch. And he lays out head first trying to get the bag. Guy's still playing hard. He's tough. And I don't think we've even scratched the surface on how tough the kid is. Cade Smith is tough. Cade's out there pitching with a black eye yesterday. That kid loves Mississippi State. He understands what it means to have that M over S over your heart. That kid's tough. And so in order for Mississippi State to get to where we want to go and to consistently be in contention for a top 8 national seed, we got to have tough players, not just guys that exhibit toughness. We got to be tough all the time. Tanner Allen is one of the toughest guys to ever wear a uniform, ever. And I don't just mean from a physical standpoint. I mean mentally tough. I'll share with you guys this quick story. We'll move on. My kid, Ani, he's not a kid anymore, ran a marathon this past weekend. Really proud of him. I remember when we were playing at Drillers Diamonds out in Baton Rouge, before it became Cypress Mound, it became everybody moved to the Cal Ripken Park out there in Gardere, which is an incredible facility. So grateful that my son got to play there. But before that, we all played out at Drillers Diamonds. Facilities weren't great, baseball was. And we're playing a team called the Yankees. We got the bases loaded. It's a tie game with 2 outs in the final inning. And Ani comes up the plate. And this is a kid that was our better hitter. Just about every year of his life, except maybe his freshman and sophomore year of high school, he led his team in hitting. And so here we are as little kids pitch, and lo and behold, the very first pitch to Ani, because the other kids knew he could hit too. The very first pitch is a wild pitch. The winning run comes in and scores from third. Just so happened it was a kid's birthday too. So he got to score the winning run against the Yankees on his birthday. And so I was so excited for the win, excited for the kids. And we get in the car, and Ani's like, Daddy, I'm so glad he threw a wild pitch. I was like, why? He said, because we won. I said, well, I had every ounce of confidence that you were going to get up there and get a base hit, and we were going to win the game anyway. He goes, I don't know, Daddy, I was really nervous. Well, he'd never been in that situation before. Well, then as he developed, of course, like the next year when those same situations come up, he gets a base hit. I remember he played one time this travel team for the Heaters, and he was hit, I don't know, about 650. And like there's all these kids, that play travel team baseball their whole lives, and he's out there outperforming them. And he always hit, he just always put the ball in play. He came up one time, situation, we got a chance to get a big hit, and everybody's clapping the rhythmic applause because our fans, like, we got our guy up here against your guy's going to get a hit. Similar situation unfolds. We ended up scoring. I want to say we reached on an error there. Well, at least we put the ball in play. But then the next time those situations came up, like when he got into high school, he wanted to be the guy. He wasn't that guy hoping for a wild pitch when he got in high school. And I say that because there is a developmental aspect of this when it comes to mental toughness. A lot of people are just born, with determination. Most of us have to kind of develop and say, well, you're kind of born that way. No. When it comes to baseball, every time you encounter those situations, you begin to intuitively know how to handle them. Your heart rate slows down. And that's what we had in TA. You go back and look at TA early in his career. He didn't come through in those situations. Man, TA struck out a lot, especially lefty on lefty early in his career. We forget that. Kind of like, we forget that Dak was so erratic as a passer, his first couple of seasons here. But, you have this revisionist history. But, we've got some guys like Hunter Hines, had the big home run against Alabama. We got big moments coming with him. We got big moments. Slade Alford hit his first home run in the Bulldog uniform on Sunday. We got big moments coming with him, and we need to have that guy in the lineup. We got to get as offensive as we can, and if that means we got to move some people around, do we move RJ to short? Do we move Cam to short to get Slade Alford in the lineup? Maybe we do. Do we let Slade Alford be the DH when they throw a right-hander or left-hander? Maybe we do. We got to find a way to get our best sticks in the lineup. We're kind of beyond that point now where we can play regular baseball. I mean, look at LSU. They're trading defense for offense, and they just swept a series from us. And so, there's always a learning process. But the thing that I will say is we have a young nucleus of players that I think are very, very tough. And I just want to share this with you, too. I think it's important to understand this. As at Mississippi State, you've got to be tough. You can say, well, Steve, we have all these resources and this great ballpark, and that's true, too. And that's another reason why you have to be that much tougher. Because you're going to go out there, and when you strike out with the bases loaded, you're going to do it in front of 11,000 people. You don't have to be nearly as tough to go to Southern Miss. And that's not in any way to throw shade at the USM baseball program. Hey, they can claim a state championship this year. Coach Barry's done a great job down there. But there's a different level of expectation here. So if you're not tough enough to wear the M over S, it's better to make that decision during the recruiting process. Everybody comes here thinking you're going to be Tanner Allen, and you're not. You're not. You might be lucky to be Tanner Leggett. You're not going to be Tanner Allen. You got to go be the best person you can be. And that's not, again, throwing any shade at Tanner Leggett. I mean, that guy's served well for us, got the biggest hit, probably Mississippi State baseball history. But my point being is that, you better come in here ready to work with some mental toughness about yourself, because everybody is going to be gunning for you. And when you don't come through, sometimes you got to put up with a little bit of nonsense, even from some of your own fans, unfortunately. We're going to discuss that a little bit later in the show. Let's get into today's top 10 list, brought to you by closewithblair.com. It is CLOSE with Blair.com. Not clothes as in clothing. Close as in closing your loan. Close with Blair, BLAIR.com. Here's the thing, too. Blair's been my friend a long time. And Blair is a mortgage professional. A lot of people out there that are loan officers. Blair's a mortgage professional, and there is a difference, okay? There's a lot of people out there just kind of finding their way in the world, and listen, they're going to make some mistakes. And when you're working on something as important as this, you need to deal with a professional. This is your home you're talking about, right? Blair's been in the business 21 years. He's not a greenhorn. He's seen it all, done it all. Done atypical properties, done atypical borrowers. Maybe your situation's very unique. I can promise you he has a plan to help get your loan closed. So whether you're looking to refinance today, looking to buy a home for the first time, or perhaps maybe looking to do a second mortgage, Blair can help you with every bit of that. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, he's going to give you a little bit of a discount, right? All you got to do is mention to Blair that you heard about him on this show. Just say, hey, Blair, whether you text him or call him or email him or see him in the street and say, hey, I want to do business with you and I heard about you on the Boneyard, he's going to pay for your appraisal. $500 value. If they're not getting any cheaper. Here's Blair's personal cell number. It's 601-500-2344. Again, 601-500-2344. That's closewithblair.com for all your mortgage questions and needs. So I had a lot of suggestions over the weekend. A lot of people kind of commiserating. I guess, we were going to do like a Hank Williams, there's a tear in my beer and I'm crying for you, dear list. Nah, that's not me. That's not me. I'm never there are times I may feel sorry for myself, but I don't get down in the dumps about this stuff for very long. I'm still an optimistic person by nature. I'm not a sunshine pumper by any stretch of imagination. There are many people that think they know me because of some internet persona. You're wrong. There's probably nobody around that expects more from Mississippi State baseball than me that's not affiliated directly with the program. And so when we don't fulfill those expectations, man, it's crushing. It is. So I decided to kind of flip the script. Rather than come up with, a hey, everybody feels sorry for us top 10, I thought let's give some songs of inspiration here. And I said, I'm going to do modern rock songs of inspiration. How about that? Kind of in-your-face songs. Because I'm not a quitter. I'm not that kind of person. Like when the world kind of comes against me, that's usually when I'm at my strongest. Rather than say, oh my gosh, look at me, let me just find a way to kind of fade back into the reeds a little bit. I'm out there and saying, you know what? Come get it. Come and get it. You know where I'll be if you want to come get it. All right, so here are the top 10 songs of really motivation. Top 10 modern rock songs of motivation. Some of these not quite as modern as others, but I thought maybe this will help us a little bit. All right, number 10, our boy Mike Shinoda had a little bit of a side project, a group called Fort Minor, and had a great song that opens up with this really cool little key sequence. It's Remember the Name. Love that song. You probably heard it. They used to play it at Davis Wade Stadium. I dig the song. I still listen to it sometimes. I think it's outstanding. Number 9, saw these guys live down in New Orleans a couple times. It's the Sick Puppies, and the song is You're Going Down. And it's not I'm going down. Matter of fact, that's the last chorus. He goes, because I was never the one going down. It's like, hey, we're getting ready to get together. We're going to have this war, and you're the one that's going down. I love the bass line to that one, too. Number 8, a song that's kind of personal to me, man. I love this one. I've actually had people send me this song and say, Steve, this reminds me of you. And I was already very familiar with the song, but it's from a band called Ashes to New, and the name of the song is My Name, and it is kind of new metal-ish. It's kind of got some rap parts over it and stuff, but it's very much a rocking song. I really dig Ashes to New. If you're unfamiliar with them, I think this is a good song for you. I think you'll like it. It's a lot. But basically, it's about I'm just never going to quit. I'm never going to stop. That's not how I'm built. And got to make the world know my name. That's it. Ashes to New, a great band. My Name is probably my favorite song from them. Number 7. So when I was in Omaha, every game we won in Omaha, I was listening to the Oleander Something Beautiful album every single time. And it's like I finally kind of picked up on it. I said, you know what? I'm going to just ride the karma here. So every time we won in Omaha, this was my soundtrack to the stadium. And it took me a while to kind of figure it out. So it's my fault that we didn't sweep Omaha. But the lead track on this album, and I love that whole album, is a song called Fight. And it is absolutely rocking. I think you'll dig it. The guy can really sing too. Number 6, we did a top 10 for them a while back, and this comes from an album they did basically kind of in tribute to some of their influences. It's a song called This Means War from Avenged Sevenfold. This Means War. Another one, it's In Your Face. Number 5, I remember listening to this way back in 2015. I remember on the way back from the Belk Bowl. I mean, all this craziness was going on. There was all the Ole Miss stuff and the Hugh Freeze stuff, and all these people were telling me I was wrong. And I just, I had heard this song so many times, but it just kind of struck a chord with me on my way back from Charlotte. Listened to it on a repeat for probably 100 miles or more. But it is a song called I Am the Fire, and I think it's actually Lizzie Hale's best vocal performance. I know many of you are kind of new fans of Hellstorm because of this show, which makes me really, really happy. I've met Lizzie Hale, and she is absolutely outstanding. But it's I Am the Fire from Hellstorm. I think you'll really dig that one. Number 4, this band actually owns a spot in our top 10. And I can't say I expected that. I don't know what happened. I don't know, maybe if you guys just heard the list and you loved it. Roy still marvels at this. I had breakfast with Roy on Saturday. We commiserated about the Friday night ball game. But it's Bullet from My Valentine. And the song is You Want a Battle? Here's a War. Another one, it's in your face. It's like, you know what? You want to come after me? You think you know what you've got? When you got me across the line from you, you're wrong. I absolutely love Bullet from My Valentine. I love this song. I think you guys will dig it too. Robbie Falk and I spoke about Bullet. Said when he was in college, that was kind of his favorite band. He believes that Hearts Burst into Fire is their best song. And Robbie is a little more delicate than me, and he's wrong. That is a great song, but it's not their best song. It is his favorite song, but I like the kind of the heavier stuff. But number 3, going across the pond a little bit here in our final 3, 2 of these acts are from England. Number 3, and this is a song that I drew a great deal of inspiration from over the course of the last couple of years. It's from a band called The Struts, and they are absolutely magnificently fabulous. It's a song called It Could Have Been Me. It's like I don't want to get to the end of my life and say, you know what, I wish I would have taken more chances, or I wish I would have done this or would have done that. This could have been me by The Struts. And it's words for living, man. That's the thing, too. Like, you listen to that, it's like I want to know the whole experience. You know, and that's one of the things that I would say, like, when I first got sober, I just wanted to be that regular guy. You know what I mean? I just wanted to go to work every day and not cause any trouble and not drink or not. Hey, Boneyard fam, do you like podcasts? Well, certainly you do, because you're listening to one. I like podcasts, too. When I'm out on the road chasing the Bulldogs all over the country, a lot of times I listen to some 80s metal. But after I've reached the end of that playlist, I like to put on some relevant podcast. That happens regularly with me, and I reach out to my friend Jordan Harbinger. You guys may be familiar with Jordan. If you're not, allow me to introduce you to the Jordan Harbinger podcast. Here's the deal. A lot of different topics are discussed on his show. It's very relevant, and I think you'll find it very interesting. One of my favorites is the Joe Barone 2-part special about his life basically is an informant against the mob. He's kind of caught between the feds and the mob, really a man with no country out there. It's riveting stuff. You can also find out, is a bridesmaid fight worth a disinvite? Well, I would say probably so. A lot of things in there, and it's always something really cool, whether it's Jordan bringing on a great guest or offering some valuable insight to listeners. It's worth your time and trouble. So here's the deal. Go to wherever you get podcasts and search for the Jordan Harbinger Show. It's very, very easy to find. Jordan and then Harbinger, Harbinger Show. And you'll want to get caught up. And that's the thing, too, is you can go back, and there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes for whatever's going on in your life or whatever tickles your fancy. And here's the deal. Jordan supports me, so I support him. So by him supporting me and me supporting him, it allows us both to bring you guys some great content. So go check it out today. The Jordan Harbinger Show. You'll be glad you did. I'm telling you, the Joe Barone one, in and of itself, if you want a good introductory episode to get to know Jordan and his ability to be just an incredible interviewer, that's the one you go to. The Jordan Harbinger Show. Find it where you find great podcasts. Go download and subscribe today. You know, as I travel around the Southeast chasing the Bulldogs around, I see it everywhere. Everybody's hiring. America's workforce not back at its full capacity just yet. A lot of businesses out there struggling to find quality employees. Maybe you're one of them. Let me offer some suggestions. Go visit my friends at Indeed. They've got it figured out for you. They can help you. It's a great partnership. You know how it is. If the Bulldogs don't have the right players with the right skills, chances of winning pretty slim. It's the same for you and your business. Maybe you'd like to be able to do more, but you can't. You got staffing concerns that are holding you back. If you're hiring, you need Indeed, because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Indeed is the only job site where you're guaranteed to find quality applicants that meet your must-have job requirements, or else you don't pay. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites hoping to find candidates that may work out, get some ones that you know will with the right skills. That you need one powerful hiring partner that can help you get that done. Indeed partners with you on every step of the hiring process. Find great talent through time-saving tools like the Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates with resumes on Indeed that match your job description, and you can invite them to apply for your position right away. Plus, you only pay for the quality applications that meet your must-have requirements. Here's the deal, too. we're going to save you a little money too. If you're a business out there that's trying to make some things happen, and you say, you know what, Steve, I've never used a company like this. Allow me to give you some incentive. How about $75 credit with Indeed? Start hiring right now with that $75 credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Boneyard. That offer is only good through the end of the month. It expires April 30th. That's Indeed.com/Boneyard to claim your $75 credit before April 30th. Terms and conditions may apply. You need to hire. You need Indeed. There's no doubt about it. Drugs and I just wanted to have a regular life. And then eventually I realized, you know what, I wanted more from life than just to work and pay bills. And so I began to kind of seek those opportunities, try to find something to do that was really stimulating and interesting. And I didn't want to look back. I used to always, one of my biggest fears is I said, I'm going to be on my deathbed. I'm going to regret the fact that I never wrote a book. And I said, that's going to be the most miserable moment of my life, is the recollection of knowing that that's never going to happen. Laying there with my family all around me saying, you know what, I should have written a book. I had all this talent and skill. I never utilized it. And so it was something that haunted me for years. And then even when I was writing Flim Flam, it scared me to death because my life was changing. You know, because here's what I will share with you, whether it be about sobriety or relationships or professional stuff, your new life will cost you your old life. And so you've got to be prepared for that, good, bad, or indifferent. Your new life costs you your old life. And there are a lot of people that are like, even though they're miserable in their current life, it's like, you know what? At least I know what I have. I may never have any greatness, but I've got some goodness, and I'm okay with that. I don't have to have that. And you know what? If that's how you want to live your life, that's perfectly fine. I just wanted more for myself, and I still do. I'm not done dreaming. And the way that I look at it, too, I think that's when you start dying. And whenever I do die, whether it be tomorrow or 10 years from now, it's been a great ride. I'm very, very grateful, incredibly grateful. And so when I hear this song, that's kind of what I think about. It's like, even though I've done some really cool things in my life, I'm going to keep striving. I'm going to keep pushing to do something even greater. Number two, and this is one of those songs too. Actually, Eric Bass from Shinedown wrote this song when he was actually mired in this huge depression. And it is an incredible song. And it comes off the Attention album, Shinedown with a new album coming out now. Really excited about that. I've already released a couple tracks off that album. If you're unfamiliar, maybe you should check those out. But a song that I used to listen to off the Attention album regularly. There's some great ones on there. I think it's the best album since Sound of Madness, is the song Get Up. And that's what it's about. It's like, let's get a move on. It's not as rocking as some of the other stuff on the album, but it's basically a song about mental health and about awareness. It's like, you know, all these other things have happened, and we can kind of wallow in the mire, or we can get up and get moving. And that's kind of where I am. And number one, again, a very, very personal song to me. It's amazing how so many of these songs were not just like favorite songs. These are songs that actually have some significance to me. So this is probably the first time I've mentioned this band on the show. But this is one of my favorite songs. And I think in many ways, it kind of illustrates the journey that I've been on, you know, through recovery and everything else. It's by a band out of England. I think they're actually defunct now, but it's a band called Heaven's Basement, and the song is Nothing Left to Lose. And there were times in my life, like even when I'm happy or I'm sad, or sometimes that I'll hear this song, it'll just come up on the playlist, and it'll catch me right at the right time. And all of a sudden, I just feel tears going down my face because I'm just so incredibly grateful. Because I know exactly what it's like to have nothing left to lose. When I got clean and sober, I had nothing, absolutely nothing. And I think there are other people out there that, you know, maybe they had a little more privilege than me, you know, and that's a dirty term these days. I mean, oh, you've got privilege. You know, listen, I'm still trying to find it, okay? But the reality of it is, and I'm so grateful for all of that. It's like, even though when I started over, I had nothing. I had to borrow money from my mom to go buy clothes. I had nothing. But I wear that like a badge of honor today. And so I'm so grateful to think about, you know, the journey that I have been able to take in life. That I remember, you know, going to Sack and Save because they did double coupons, and I would buy a pound of bacon and a loaf of bread and a tomato, and I'd have bacon tomato sandwiches, you know, 2 and 3 days in a row. And I would bring that coupon back just so I could afford to eat again. And this is when I was completely sober and working every day and just trying to make a living. This wasn't when I was out there as an addict and, spending everything I had trying to find, the next high or anything. I was just, and it was very frustrating. It was. But it was an honest living. And I did what I had to do. And so when I hear this song, I'm reminded of all of that because I know how it feels to have nothing left to lose. And so I share that with you because I think these are, again, songs of inspiration. And I will fight to the final breath, I guess until I get to the point where I'm like, you know what, I'm just ready to go. And as I shared with you earlier, whenever it happens, I will be ready to go. I want to make sure that my kids are taken care of, but fortunately, I'm at a point now where my kids are, two of my kids are almost off the payroll, and so I've got another one that will be sooner rather than later. But when you get a little bit older in life, you begin to think about those things and think about your own mortality, and so I just hope that I leave a lasting legacy that makes them all very, very proud. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart. You know those fine folks, right? Standing Man, Miss Kathy Brown, the lovely, talented Susie. Be sure and go check them out. When you're in town, just on the backside of campus, they're very easy to get to. You can swing by there on your way to the ball game. Very easy to get to. You turn off of 182 there by the Mississippi Highway Patrol substation there. Take that turn, and next thing you know, Campus Bookmart is there on your way to campus. Be sure and go check them out in person. If you can't, visit them on the World Wide Web at campusbookmart.net. They've got the latest in Mississippi State merch right there for you, updating the website regularly. You should follow them on social media so you can kind of keep abreast of all the new arrivals. While you're there at campusbookmart.net, you can use BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That's your promo code to get free shipping on all orders over $50. Any order less than $50, absolutely incomplete. Campus Bookmart, a great place to do business, a great place to work. And that's the thing, too. It's like, some places in town you go, it's kind of a revolving door when it comes to staff. Not really there. It's a very family-friendly atmosphere. Many of those people have been there for years upon years, and they're Mississippi State people. So they know exactly what you're looking for and what you're looking to purchase for your family. Buy yourself something. And maybe buy something else for somebody else in your family. I recently bought a gift for Mike Nemeth, not from Campus Bookmart, but I recently just kind of bought a gift because Mike is my friend, and I wanted to have a little fun at his expense, but also to kind of give him something cool. And so I did, and I enjoy the joy of giving, and you will too. Maybe surprise somebody in your family today by going to campusbookmart.net and ordering them some Mississippi State merchandise. We don't do that stuff enough. We really don't. All right, let's talk a little recruiting. There was some recruiting news over the weekend. Paul Jones had write-ups on both of these things. Let's start with football. We had a new addition to the 2022 class, and I'm going to do the best I can here. I think it's George. I knew I was going to mess it up. Geropoulos, maybe? Anyway, George. We'll call him George. Like people on the message board said, I'm going to call him G. Number 88, a punter, 6'2", 225 pounds, a native of Greenville, South Carolina. An outstanding punter at UMass. And Mississippi State certainly needed to upgrade their specialist, and we have with George. So looking at some numbers here, it's pretty remarkable. Single game, the longest punt, 73 yards against Liberty. That's incredible. 73-yard punt. 79 punts attempt in a single season in 2019. That's not necessarily a great team statistic, but it goes to show you that he is a guy that does have some consistency. That year, he punted for 3,116 yards. Average punt attempt, average yards per punt, 41.86, and that was in 2020. So as a career, he's averaging right at 40 yards a punt. And how many times last year did we need to flip the field? We were unable to do it. It happened pretty regularly. But yeah, again, a guy too that's it's had a good career, and now he's a Bulldog, and he'll be joining the program here at the end of the semester, and be competing and doing a good job for us there. So George Geropoulos, and George, correct me if I'm wrong, or Geropoulos, I don't know. And that's one of the things, too, you think about in life. The least you can do is get somebody's name right. There's not a pronunciation guide here, so I'm doing the best I can with my South Mississippi education. We still have a couple spots left to work with. Paul and I are kind of working that, but here's the deal with that. A lot of people are going to wait until these post-spring transfers enter the portal. There are a few guys that are evaluating. There's nobody right now you look at and say, yeah, that guy's definitely going to be a part of the program. 3 spots still available. Still would like to take an offensive tackle, especially now that we've kind of identified that Stephen Lasoya is probably going to be a guard. So he's not really competing at right tackle much. Albert Reese looks to be the guy there. You'd like to get a third tackle. You'd like to have some depth and some competition at the positions. It's a big part of our offense. We'd like to get another safety, at least a 2-deeper. You got to go out and get a guy that can be in the rotation. And that was probably State's biggest position of need when you look at the portal. And you got Jackie Matthews coming in, doing a good job. People are excited about him, but we need another one. And then there's probably a best available spot. Is that a receiver? Maybe. Is it an offensive lineman? Probably not. If you could find an edge rusher late, you take him. But I think it pays to have a little flexibility late in the portal. But you got to go out and get a guy that makes you a better football team. And so while you have some needs, you don't have to have an offensive lineman, but I think with Lasoya going to guard, you probably need to get another tackle. But you have to have a safety. You absolutely have to have a safety. And then, of course, best available. We'll see what that turns out to be. But again, I like the fact that we have some spots to work with. A lot of people get so fired up and excited about the portal, and they get all down in the mouth and we have guys leave, but it also opens up some spots for us to add players that make us a better team, this year. So that's kind of where we are with that. Again, still some room to work with. This time last year we were trying to find a couple corners and didn't get any. Ended up putting a couple of guys that were expected to be gray shirts on full scholarship. And then we're still kind of waiting to see what happens, of course, with Dakota Jordan. But the latest information we have on him is that Dakota is not expected to get drafted high enough in the Major League Baseball draft to prevent him from coming to school. So we'll see how things progress there. But, again, a good addition to go get that. So you've added a kicker in Massimo Biscardi, and then you go get George. And so, the pronunciation guide at Mississippi State is going to be rather lengthy this year. But you have upgraded your field goal kicker and your punting situation. And both of those were burrs in the Bulldog saddle last year. I think we can all agree those are things we absolutely had to take care of, and we have. So here we are. Just need to finish now with the portal. And I'm not down on Mississippi State football like some of our fans are, and I don't fully understand why there is so much negativity. It's like, oh, we're going to do this, we're not going to do that. I think we're going to be a good football team. I think we'll probably win 8 games in the regular season. I think that's probably the over-under right there. I think the ceiling could be 9. We probably have to upset somebody. But I think the floor is 7-5. And you say, well, Steve, we go 7-5 again, lose to Ole Miss. Do we make a coaching change? And I'd say absolutely not. Mike Leach is going to get a 4th year regardless. But it's certainly, if you get back to a bowl game and you're kind of trending in the right direction, you certainly would, kind of hang with where we are. But I haven't done the research on this, but I thought about this a couple days ago. A conversation with a friend of mine. How many years have we had 3 wins against the final top 25 in the AP? Not very many. Some years we kind of benefit when the SEC West is down a little bit. We may play a team that's ranked high early, and then they end up out of the poll. But to have 3 wins last year against teams that finished in the top 25, that's kind of rarefied air for us, even though the season didn't end the way we wanted it to. But I do like the steps that we're taking. Justin Robinson has looked good in practice. I mentioned that to you guys. Jordan Mosley has. So I feel like the receiver, we're going to be able to pitch and catch it pretty well. It's all going to boil down to protection. I like the running backs, like our quarterback situation, and it's still Will Rogers' team. Sawyer Robertson has had a very good camp. Didn't have a great scrimmage on Saturday from what Dave Murray tells me. I was getting ready to cover baseball after a book signing. But hopefully we'll be able to get out there this weekend. Excited to be a part of that. But, I am not down on Mississippi State football. I think we're going to have a good year, and I think that the quality of our year might be dependent on what we do with these final few spots in the portal. I think that could maybe be the difference in winning a game or so. On the basketball side of things, and again, Paul Jones kind of all over this stuff too. This is where I think Paul is at his best, especially as of late with the portal. This is where you need sources. It's one of the things, we identify these high school football prospects and you kind of work through the process and you get to know the kids and their coaches. But this portal stuff is a little more difficult to deal with. Mississippi State adds the guard Deshaun Davis from Oregon State, and a true point guard in many respects.
And it's been a while since we've had a true point guard. You can say, well, Lamar Peters, Lamar was great, but I don't know that he was necessarily a great facilitator like maybe, we would need for him to be. He was an elite scorer at times, but Deshaun Davis comes in, a native of the Bronx, played at the, at Our Savior Lutheran High School there in Bronx, New York, 6'2", 185-pound guard. Played 2 seasons at Trinity Valley Community College. He was ranked as the number 7 JUCO prospect in the country by 247 Sports and a first-team All-American after his second year there at Trinity Valley. That year, he averaged 17.1 points, 6.5 rebounds, 9.6 assists, and 2.8 steals. Guy's averaging nearly a double-double as a point guard. And yes, I understand that it's junior college, but this is a guy, obviously, that is good to go. Averaged 21.3 points as a freshman. Scored 41 points one game against Tyler Junior College. But yeah, a guy that's obviously had a very accomplished career above the high school level. Now let's look at what he did at Oregon State. Played in 27 games, averaged 11.1 points, 47% from the field, just 19.1% from the three-point shooting. It's like, well, Steve, I thought Ben Howland was gone. I don't think you need this guy to be a prolific three-point shooter in this scheme. I think it's about facilitating, and I'm going to trust Chris Jans and what he wants to do. That guy knows who fits his system, and to go get a guy like this that, coming from the Bronx, probably has a little bit of toughness in him. But 65% from the free throw line, that's got to get better. And just over 3 boards a game and just under 6 assists per game. But he will be more of a facilitator than a scorer for us. Looking at some of his minutes here, had a couple of really big games this year. In a loss to Princeton, he has 16 points there. Looks to be second highest scoring total of third. I get some bigger games than that. Looking, and when he gets in the conference play, really kind of elevated his game a little bit here. 17 points against Washington, 22 points against Colorado, 31 in a loss to USC. That's the high mark right there. But this is a guy that consistently scored in double digits in conference play out on the West Coast. And so it's not like, we're getting a guy from a mid-major. We're getting a guy that played Arizona and California and even played against Texas A&M this year, SC at UCLA. So, yeah, a guy that has played at a high level of competition is now headed to Starkville. And, again, there's still some room to work there, too. And if you want your updates on that, this is where being a subscriber to Gene's page makes a lot of difference. Paul providing these basketball recruiting updates in addition to our football stuff. And so you see stuff on Twitter, but you don't really know how advanced the relationship is. Oh, well, this guy's got an offer. Well, is he even seriously considering us? Well, that's where Paul comes in. You go and read the biscuits and that sort of stuff, and we have these updates, and he'll reach out to players and kind of get their feedback on how receptive they are to what Mississippi State has been able to discuss with them. And so I think that is an important aspect of things too, is just kind of understanding Chris Jans has got to go out and recruit some guys this year that make you better on the floor this year. That's where I think that his junior college background is very helpful because, again, you're constantly in a state of recruiting. And this is a guy that understands how to use the portal. Look at the team that he put on the floor at New Mexico State. And listen, nothing against those guys out there in New Mexico. But there are not a lot of people that wake up and say, you know what, I think I want to go to Las Cruces. Just not how it works. You get a chance to go play. You're going to play in the SEC, and you're going to get a chance to play against Kentucky and against Florida, against Georgia. You're going to get a chance to play in full arenas and things like that. And so the drawing card for Chris Jans, I think, is much greater than what he had at New Mexico State. And then he put a much better team on the floor last year than we did. And so with what he has to recruit to, considering the renovations at the Hump, considering the money that we're paying him, I think this is a guy, too, that is going to put a good product on the floor immediately. You've got some good pieces that are coming back. I don't at this point expect Boneyard to come back. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. But I have a lot of trust in Chris Jans. And just, the vibe that Chris has given off and him going down to the union and meeting with students and that sort of stuff, that stuff's very important. It is. And I don't think it's contrived in any respect. I think Chris understands that he needs the students to really set the tone in the arena. And you guys need to be there too. We need to make sure we turn out and give Chris every opportunity. And I have no doubt that he is going to work wonders in this portal. And there may not be guys out there you say, well, hey, I'm not really familiar with this guy. He is going to get guys that fit his scheme and his system, and they're going to go to work.
And I think he's going to build a basketball program that you all can be very, very proud of. Of course, they're rounding out the staff and that sort of stuff. And we've heard a lot about in recent days about now that Sam Purcell's season is over. He's another guy too that's kind of getting his staff put together. Those are things that kind of get you excited about. He goes out and adds. Mariel Page comes in. Corey Irvin comes in, and that you begin to say, well, Steve, I don't know these names. Corey Irvin. Let's run down her bio here pretty quick here. Just one of these, one of these coaches too that's kind of been around. And here was her comment too. She is assistant coach at the University of Illinois. I'm grateful for the opportunity to join Sam Purcell and the amazing staff he is assembling to lead Mississippi State. Sam is one of the best young coaches in college basketball, and the vision he has to lead Mississippi State to new heights is something I believe in and I'm honored to be a part of. I look forward to being able to help our student athletes grow both on and off the basketball court, and my family are excited to move to Starkville and be part of a community that loves and supports women's basketball at Hell State. Pretty impressive. And again, coming from the Power Five. It's not like we went out and just got somebody, from just down the road, somebody that knows what it takes. And then you go get Jimmy Yu to be your director of basketball operations. Spent the last 4 years at the University of Virginia. Virginia's been very, very good. Very, very good. Then we've had Joy Williams as our assistant AD for women's basketball. And then Sam says Joy is a huge addition to my staff. Joy checks every box I'm looking for when it comes to putting together the best staff in the country. She has experience as a head coach at the highest level and has spent time in the WNBA and with USA Basketball. She is a big addition to our program and someone that will be in the office daily in a non-coaching role for our student athletes. She'll be a major resource because of the experience she brings. But most importantly, Joy is a winner. She's a great person. She will positively impact our program every day. And she comes to us from Clemson. And again, you start looking, you got some people with very, very solid basketball pedigree. Gabe Lazo. Gabe's another guy. Supposed to be a guy that really understands X's and O's here. This is a guy that, he has a lot of experience too. And so you can run these numbers down. You can read his bios yourself. But it's like when I began to think, okay, it didn't take him long, and that he was already working towards this. But I think, getting Mariel Page is big too. That's somebody else too that is one of us. She is from Mississippi. And really the final piece, as he calls it, she is somebody that's played in the NBA, was an All-American in the SEC. So she understands, number one, Mississippi. She is a Bay Springs native, spent 11 years in the WNBA. So she understands where we are and where we're from, and then she understands where our student athletes are trying to get. And so pretty impressive staff. I got to say, we hadn't seen them play a game yet, but on paper, pretty promising. But again, I like the resumes. It's like you don't stay in sports for a long time unless you win. And so all of a sudden, we're going out and getting people from Virginia. We're getting people from Illinois. We're getting people from Clemson. You're getting these people that are from programs that know what it takes to compete at a high level. And so very impressed with Sam Purcell and very impressed with what he's been able to do, in a short time. I did notice yesterday, too, we had the recruiting picture out there. They were doing the in-home visit, and not enough maroon in those pictures. So, Sam, if you're listening, let's make sure we get some official issue Adidas on for those pictures. We've got to rep the brand every chance we get. All right, let's thank our friends at Portico. Brooks and I texted some yesterday, about baseball and things like that. Brooks and our friends. I really think a lot of Brooks. Brooks is part of a great group of individuals that are bringing this great residential development to Starkville. Many Starkville residents already call Portico home. Phase 1 is completely sold out. So whether that's your primary residence or perhaps your place in Starkville, people love to say that we have a place here. We have a place here. Maybe you need to have a place here. A place to store all your tailgating supplies, if nothing else. A place that maybe you can retire to, a place you can kind of have your ball game weekend retreat. You don't have to pay for hotels and that kind of stuff. And listen, well, Steve, it's a house. It is. But how great is it to be part of our community here in Starkville? You can have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home and go all the way up to a 4-bedroom, 4-bath home. You'll be glad you did. And right now, phase 2 under construction, so you can have some say and what your house looks like. You can pick your lot, pick out the housing plans, and be ready to roll. Give Brooks a call or text today, 601-416-8075. Again, that's 601-416-8075. Let me share you this. If you were in the process of building a place or finding a place here in Starkville and your real estate agent hasn't mentioned Portico, then you should mention it to them, because this is a great place to live. Very, very easy to get to, 1.1 miles away from the Mississippi State campus. On the quiet side of campus, so you're close enough for convenience and far enough away to have a little privacy. You'll be glad you did. Go check it out today. Make Portico your next move. All right, I want to close the show with some heartfelt messages to a few groups of people. I want to start with our baseball parents. Number one, as a former baseball parent myself, I understand the demands of travel, the emotional investment, and all the financial investment that is taken to get you to this point. I respect it. I paid it myself. When my son was playing travel team baseball, that it monopolized my life. Everything revolved around the baseball schedule. Eventually, I was fortunate enough to help coach high school baseball. I was able to coach my kid for many years. And so I understand what you all have invested, not just financially, but emotionally, in your son's success. I respect it, and I know it firsthand. And I know how close those groups get, and I'm glad they have each other, because it's not always the bed of roses. You look back last year when we, won the national championship, it was the best of times. It was. Everybody was happy. But let me encourage you, this baseball parents of Mississippi State. Let me encourage you to not get on social media, especially after a loss. And you say, you know what, Steve, it's my life, it's my social media account. You're absolutely right. But you're going to see the worst of things. You're going to see the worst side of Mississippi State in those moments. And believe it or not, it's not personal. It feels that way because your investment into this is different. You have a child on the team, so you have some ownership in the success of the program. We do too. Yours is just greater. But you're not going to see us at our best after a loss. That's not to excuse the behavior by any stretch of the imagination, but let me just tell you, don't let those that kind of vocal minority paint the rest of our fan base in a negative light. Because you saw, we had Pico Cohn's mother went out, and next thing you know, her tweet is all over the Facebook groups and social media, and 95% of the people that saw that were very responsive and very respectful, and really more indicative of the message we want to send as a fan base. I mean, it truly is. Now, that said, it's important to understand that, we were here before you were here, and we'll be here after you're gone, and we're going to love you and your child the whole time that they're here. So we take this baseball thing really seriously, and sometimes you might catch us at a weak moment, but it doesn't mean that we don't love your child. It doesn't mean that we don't support your child. And I bring up Parker Stinnett. He's had a couple of really rough outings. And you know what? None of that is intentional. Hunter Hines has had a couple difficult weekends because he has everybody's attention now, right? He was kind of like that snake hiding in the reeds. It's like, okay, when I get through with Logan Tanner, okay, then I got to worry about Kellum Clark. Well, then there's Hunter Hines in there that can absolutely put you on SportsCenter. But he's had a rough couple of weekends, And we know that Hunter Hines is going to be the face of this program at some point. But when he goes over, people are going to comment on it. Doesn't make it right. And that's why I just encourage you to maybe not get on social media, or maybe even set up whatever that is, TweetDeck or whatever, and set up the apps where, you can, put people in certain situations. But I just think it's important, again, not to excuse the behavior, but I want you to understand that the overwhelming majority of our fan base loves and supports your kids all the time. And I think about, Hunter Hines and Parker Stinnett, who want it so bad. they want to go out there and dominate a game for Mississippi State and for these fans, and sometimes we come up a little bit short. And Hunter Hines' time is coming. But I can't begin to imagine, having, I had a child that played college baseball too. And you know what? They may have a couple hundred people at the games. They'd have some locals and have their friends and, some of their family members. And so it was a really small, tight-knit community, and they were just happy to win a ball game. We weren't playing on the national stage. You go out there and you make an error, it's going to make the SEC network. You go out there and you groove a pitch, you get up a home run, it might even make SportsCenter. Our situation was much different. And so your child, your young man, your son has elevated his game to the point that he plays now on a national stage. And fair or unfair, when you reach this level, you're going to get a certain level of criticism. And again, I'm not excusing the behavior by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just going to, again, encourage you not to paint the entire fan base with the tweets of a few people that get a little bit unhinged that probably need to have, maybe some kind of parental control on their social media accounts. But I just speak for me and myself, and I think I speak for a lot of other people when I say, we are very grateful that your son chose Mississippi State. And we're grateful that our coaching staff valued your son and his ability and your family enough to invite you to be a part of our family. And so while we're wonderful when we're winning, the majority of us kind of get quiet when we lose, but there are a few people out there that say and do things that are not indicative of who we are as a fan base, and I wish they wouldn't do that. Now, my second message is to those people. What in the world are we doing? And we discussed this last year. Around this same time, I had this same discussion, and I won't mention the parents because I don't want to embarrass the parents. I don't want none of you to go tweet the kid and talk about how soft they are. I remember this time last year having this same discussion that somebody makes a mistake and we have to go tweet them. Do you think Logan Tanner has forgotten that maybe he didn't get a big hit, a big situation? Do you think Brad Cumbest is unaware that maybe he had a rough at bat or two? He didn't need you to remind him of that. What are we trying to accomplish? That's what I don't understand. And maybe you can DM me and explain it to me. Please do. How in the world does this help anything? It may make you feel better. And one of my favorite things, and I mean this with as much sarcasm as I can muster. And people will, Steve, I'm a real one. No, you're not. You're a fake one. You're not real at all. I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm going to keep it real with you. Either you're a bulldog or you're not. And that's not to say that you're not right, have a right to voice some complaints when we lose. You absolutely do. But to go involve our players and tweet at them on social media, you're kidding me. You're not a real one. You're fake. And I say it to your face in front of your mom. You're fake. We're better than that. We're one of the blue bloods of college baseball. We don't need fans like that. That's one of the things I've always said is, we all the fans we can muster. We don't need any of those fans. None. So I'm just going to ask you to take the M over S logo out of your Twitter bio. Take everything off that identifies you as a Mississippi State fan. Because if that's how you're going to behave, you're embarrassing the rest of us. And it's a shame that many of our other fans feel the need to have to go rush and apologize to other people for your behavior. So, and again, I've said many times, the best and worst thing about social media is that everybody can use it. The difference is that most people don't use their names. Mine is Steve Robertson. @Scout Steve Robertson. Make it easy for you to find me. But there are times, like I'll sit in the press box and I'll turn to Mike Nemeth and I say, I just don't know if we can trust this kid anymore. You know what? And I mean that. But discretion is the better part of valor. I don't have to go tweet every thought that comes to my mind. And I think that's the important aspect of it. Hey, you want to go vent to your friends? Go do it. Get in your text group, whatever. That's fine. I've got one of those. When I get frustrated, I got friends I talk to too, but I don't go involve our players. They say, well, now we need to go fire that. If we get to the end of the year and we don't have the year we expected, do we fire Foxhall and Gotro? Guys, get out of here with that. You kidding me? It's like we become such prisoners of the moment. We won a national championship last year. Well, Steve, I'm tired of hearing that. Well, you might as well get used to hearing it because that's never going away. We won the national championship in 2021 with this same coaching staff. They didn't forget how to coach. We just had some adversity this year. Hey, does Gotro need to get some guys right? Absolutely does. Baseball is a game of adjustments. In season, in weekend, in game, in a career, you're always tweaking and adjusting. Jake knows. He doesn't need me or you to remind him of that. He's well aware of his job. And he's just as knowledgeable, if not more so today, than he was this time last year when we were getting ready to go win a national championship. And I remember when we lost back in 19, standing in that locker room, watching Elijah McNamee cry his eyes out. And I mentioned to Jay Gotro, I said, hey, if we come back next year, we will have done something we've never done before. He goes, what's that? I said, we'll have gone 3 consecutive times. He said, we'll be here. We'll be here. You go talk to the players, current, former, everything else, they'll tell you. Gotro has made a difference with them. Hey, are we pressing, trying to do a little bit too much? Yeah, we are. And the fact that we're still doing it almost 2 months into the season is concerning to me. We got to settle in. There are a lot of people that are so worried about the draft that, maybe they need to sit. Maybe we just remove all the pressure from the draft completely from their minds and just let them sit for a couple of games. Maybe that's what we need to do. But I remember, last year in the offseason, everybody's panicking. Are we going to lose Foxhall? Are we going to lose Goat? And Gotro has turned down other jobs. It's not like he hadn't had an opportunity to leave. He stays here because, number one, he believes in what we're doing. And not to mention, too, it enhances his career. That probably puts him in a situation to get a Power 5 job rather than have to go to G5 route. We had to battle Texas A&M last year to keep Jake. People forget these things. But all of a sudden we have a bad weekend. It's like, we got there and put 20 runs up against Georgia. We're like, okay, all right. We're battling inconsistency. But don't go out there and tweet at our players and coaches. Come on. You got to be above that. What does that accomplish? And again, you're not keeping it real. You're just showing how fake you are. Fake. I'm true maroon. I think most of y'all are. A handful of y'all aren't. You like us when we win. It's like, well, Steve, I'm a big Mississippi State fan. Are you? Well, how is that helpful to the program? You go out there and tweet at our players. Give me a break. Final message I got is to our players. First thing I'm going to tell thanks for sharing the path with us for a little while. And for those of you that were on last year's team, thanks for helping us win an AFL championship. And for some of you, you've been part of the ride now for a few years and taken us to Omaha a couple times. In some cases, I guess 3. Your families have really contributed a lot to your success, and now you're a part of our family too. But what I'm going to encourage you to do is shut all this other stuff down. So all the talk about last year's NAFL championship, that's over and done with. It's a different team, and we've talked about that before. It's a different team, a different year, and all that's true. But it doesn't matter what we say, it's what you feel. And so you will never at this point live up to what you did last year. Barring some late magical run where we get hot and kind of just find our way through. I wouldn't want to play you guys in the postseason because I think once you get there, you'll have some things figured out. But you can't go back to last year. TA's not coming, Rowdy's not coming, Bednar's not coming, C-Mac's not coming, Houston Harding's not coming. Those guys are gone. It's up to you now. It's you and your legacy. And it's our collective program. We can't go out there with you as much as we'd want to. Most of us weren't good enough to play. Some of us just never had the skill. And so a lot of times we rest our own insecurities on your backs and say, I can't believe he did that, even knowing full well we couldn't do as good as you've done. But the reality of it is you chose to come to Mississippi State and embrace expectations that a lot of other players around the country did not. It would have been much easier to go to a Memphis or a Southern Miss or a UAB where there really are no expectations. And I don't mean that in a negative way towards those programs. They've all had very good years at times, and they all have very good coaches. But the expectations are not the same. You go to Southern Miss, and you hope to go to a regional. That's your hope. You hope to get to a regional. And then that year is considered a success. At Mississippi State, you get to a regional, and that is just part of the schedule. That's what we expect. We don't ever have to, fear. It's like, oh, well, we're not going to make a regional. We feel like those days are behind us. We feel like we've graduated to the point that, we're chasing Omaha every year. We've been in Supers, every year since 16, 17, 18, 19, 21. We'd love to get back. Even if you don't get us to Omaha, it's like, we expect to be contending for that every year. And so you made the decision to come here knowing full well those were the expectations. And so, again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, we need to do what's expected of us. We don't need to come up short and say, well, I did my best, because I'm going to ask you this, did you really? You got picked, you were handpicked to come to Mississippi State because our coaches and everybody involved in scouting you said, hey, this guy can live up to the expectations and meet the demands of what it takes to be a Mississippi State Bulldog. And you had some special guys around you last year, but I don't think at this point last year that we even realized how special those guys were. They had some special moments down the stretch that made them very special. And so you had that opportunity as well to not only meet expectations, but to have some special moments down the stretch. And you know what? This may be your last year at Mississippi State. So how do you want to go out? Do you want to go out and say, hey, those guys won the national championship in 2021 and then kind of tanked in 2022? We'll never get over being grateful for 2021. That'll never change. That is a forever moment for us. But we didn't build a team for a year. We built a program for a lifetime. And so the expectations are for us to play better baseball than we're playing. Now, you don't need me to remind you of that. We're not playing up to our potential. And that's the thing, too, is if we were playing up to our potential and then we weren't quite good enough to get there, we could kind of accept that. But you have raised the standard. And so now we expect you to match that same standard. Fair or unfair, that is how we feel. Now, the chances, again, of us hosting are pretty slim. That ship has sailed. I think most people are going, sure, mathematically we could make it happen, but it's just not a realistic goal anymore. So now our hope is that you will, again, make Hoover and then get in a regional somewhere, and then we'll see. Because it all kind of resets then. Now it's a new season. And by that time, I think we'll have found our identity. I think maybe every week we kind of find out a little bit something else. People forget, this time last year we were still kind of playing fruit basket turnover at second base and left field. We forget those things. We'll get some things settled as we get into postseason. We just hope there is a postseason. And we love you. We do. We get frustrated with you sometimes, when you swing at a ball in the dirt and you get fooled or you make an error. We do. But we get over it. We recover. And again, some of our fans get out there and a little bit too hard on you on Twitter, and then the moment fades and they forget to go delete the tweet, and they shouldn't have made it in the first place. So let me apologize on their behalf, because you can't differentiate between me and those people. Because all you see is a Twitter handle, right? All you know is you see that M over S out there, and it's supposed to be somebody that loves and supports you all the time, being critical of you. So I'm going to ask you to give them a little bit of grace, because their frustration comes from a good place. It's because they have this love affair with Mississippi State baseball, and they expect the best from Mississippi State baseball. And even though sometimes it's delivered to you personally, it's not intended personally. That's that same person that's frustrated with you today will be cheering for you tomorrow. And so I'm not going to defend their behavior. And as you've heard me say on the show, we don't need fans like that. We don't. We absolutely don't. But I'm going to ask you to block all that stuff out. And here's something else, and this may be a little bit controversial. I'm going to ask you to block out what your parents say too. I'm going to ask you to block out what all your former teammates, all your high school teammates, all your travel team, all your summer league, block all that stuff out too. And all those friends that you have, in the Cotton District and in class, I want you to block all that stuff out too. And take it all with a grain of salt. Because what matters most right now is what you guys think and believe about yourselves. This is what matters most. This is time for us to circle the wagons. And then all this peripheral stuff will kind of all take care of itself. Because if you spend too much time trying to do what, John Q. Bulldog on Twitter has to say, or what mom and dad have to say, even as well-intended as it may be, or what, your friend in Chemistry 101 has to say, all of that is going to divert us from our primary focus, and that is to go out there and make something special this season. This past weekend was awful, and it was probably more awful for you than anybody. I'm not lost in that discussion. I get it. It means more, good, bad, or indifferent to you than it does anybody else, because it's you. It's your name on social media. It's your name on the SEC network. It's your name in the box score. Many of our fans, when you guys have a bad ball game, they can just turn the TV off and go cut the grass or go fishing or whatever. You got to go out there and finish the game out. I can't begin to imagine how miserable it was on Sunday. It's a 13-3 ball game. We're just trying to get the game over and get it behind us. I can't begin to imagine how difficult that was. But it's just one weekend, and it's just one game. And today can be a different point for us. We can turn things around. But I'm going to ask you, as you block all the other stuff out, and that's even the other people too, like, hey, love you, that's all sweet. But let's turn our attention to the M over S. Pretty soon you're going to be done with class 2. That's all you're going to have is M over S. And you're going to have to live with how this season ends the rest of your life. Fair or unfair. You only get a short time in life to play baseball. And that's one of the things, too. You'll talk to your guys. You talk to Jake Mangum. You talk to Tanner Allen. You talk to those guys, and they'll tell you. It's not the same in minor league. You don't have that same esprit de corps. All the guys aren't just all hanging out. You spend a lot of time in hotel rooms on your phone, texting with your buddies and that sort of stuff. It's just a different deal. It's a business. You don't know that yet. But the memories that you make over the course of the next 2 months are going to last you a lifetime. And so let's think about the legacy that we're going to leave at Mississippi State. Because, we could say, hey, you won an AFL championship. But how great would it be to say, the year after they won an AFL championship, they had all this adversity, and they didn't quit. And they still found a way to get to the postseason. And they still found a way to make Mississippi State proud. That's going to do it for today. If you guys are looking for books, you can find it at dogpilethebook.com. We have some additional stock. We have been able to kind of recirculate some things, and so you can get. And we had sold a bunch of books this weekend at the Lodge. Matter of fact, I'm leaving here, headed to Newton, Mississippi, with the Alumni Association. I'll be at the Mexican restaurant tonight. Friday, I'll be at the FCA banquet, and then I guess it's Saturday. I'm at Campus Bookmart. But yeah, you go to Dogpile the Book. You can still get personalized and signed copies. You can get Flim Flam, Alpha Dogs, and Stark Villains there. If you're looking for Blooms of Oleander, you can find it at Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, Books A Million, and everywhere else you find great books. Your local bookstore can get it for you. So be sure and check that out. Stark Villains gear always available at StarkVillains.com. All right, I'll be back on Wednesday. Hopefully we'll be talking about a baseball victory over UAB. I didn't even preview the game today because I thought it was more important to address these other things. But, we'll have a break in programming today to kind of handle this. But until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.